Okay, so welcome to this evening's Versameling. It's Torah. Our study tonight is on Matot Masei, which are the last two parashot in the book of Bamidbar, in the book of Numbers, and this is just at the entrance of the Promised Land. Moses is being told he's not going to be able to enter, and then the book of Deuteronomy is how Moses is recounting, is going to tell the story of everything as he remembers it. So it's going to be a little different than the first four books, but a lot of it is repeated. That's why it's called Deuteronomy. It's a second name, like the second writing. And so really the Torah is basically the four books. And then you have the second one. So let me share the screen and we will begin with this, with the reading of the portion.
Oh, I gotta get my other glasses.
So it says, I'll begin reading and then Jerry, I'll let you take over. Yes.
Okay. I was gonna read. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. I remember you were going to do the first few words in Hebrew. That's perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of words. I don't know. You can translate them, Peggy, at your pleasure.
No problem.
Okay. Vayedaber Moshe el Rashi Hamatot, and Moses spoke unto the heads of the tribe. The heads is Rashi, Hamatot is the tribes.
Right.
Livnei, the children, Yisrael of Israel, Lamor, saying, Zeh, Hadavar, this is the thing. There's a special thing with the Zeh. I'm not sure what it was, Peggy, maybe you know about it.
No.
I share Tzivot, the commandments that the Shem has commanded. Okay.
Perfect.
Ish is a man. Ki Yidor voweth, Yidor Neder is a vow. Yidor
Neder. Exactly.
Yeah, Neder let Hashem to the Lord. Oi Ishava Shavua, or swear to an oath. Lesor, sorry, sar, to so you can translate that an oath to bind his soul with a bond. Ad nafshoy would be his soul. Lo yachel, lo is no, yachel is to break. Devoroi, his word, devoroi. Kechol hayoitzei. He shall, Yoitzei is to do, Yechol is all, he shall do all. Mi is from the mouth, Yahaseh, and he shall do, poureth out, he shall do, Yahaseh shall do from his mouth.
Okay, perfect. Let's stop there, Jer, okay?
Good, perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Because this is really important. This is important to God, and it's important for us to know. When a man makes a vow to the Lord, and he swears an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. In other words, when we give our word, we need to keep it. Many people aren't taught that anymore. They can say anything, it doesn't mean anything. There's nothing important about what comes out of the mouth of people now. He shall do all that proceeds out of his mouth. Whatever. There was a rabbi who says, Rabbi Yeshua said, "Yet your yes be yes and your no be no. Do everything that you say you're going to do." And then the next 14 verses have to do with when a woman vows a vow to the Lord and binds herself by a bond while she's still in her father's house and she's still young. So a young woman, when she makes a vow and her father hears her vow, or the thing that she swore, that she bound her soul, like, I swear I'm going to do that. And her father does not say a word. He holds his peace. then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she has bound her soul shall stand. Now, women, young girls, are under the authority of the father. But if her father disavows her in the day that he hears any of her vows, then they shall stand, and the Lord will forgive her because her father disallowed her. So in other words, if the father says, no, what she said is crazy, she's not responsible, then the Lord will forgive her. And if she's married, her vows are on her, and her whatever her lips utter, and the same idea, and her husband hears it, in that day, if he holds his peace and doesn't say a word, then her vows shall stand. So even though they say women had no rights, they did have a right to make a vow. But if her husband disallows her in that day when he hears it, and he shall make void her vow which is upon her, the Lord will forgive her. So she's under her husband or her father. But the vow of a widow, or she who's divorced, everything that she said, that shall stand against her. In other words, the widow or the one who is divorced is mature enough to think before she gives a vow. And this way, she doesn't have anybody over her. She's going to bear the consequences of her vows. If a woman vowed in her husband's house. So all these next few lines are exactly about that. And then Miriam and I were talking about this the other day, and she said that God has a reason for doing that. We may not always know why. There are, of course, many rabbis who will give you opinions. We say that there's 2 Jews, 3 opinions. But here it says, when I noticed this, these are the statutes. Ele ha-chukim. Remember I said there are 3 types of commandments. You have the mitzvot, which are the commandments. Those are ones between us and God. Then we have the chukim, which are statutes which may not make any common sense, or we may not understand all the reasons why. There's a little bit of a mystery there. So these vows are called chukim. They may not have a full and clear explanation to us. The last ones are the mishpatim, which are the last of the 5 of the 10 commandments. The middle of the 2 10 commandments are the chukim, which are Shabbat and honoring your parents. The first 3 are the mitzvot, which are between our relationship with us and God, as I say. And the last are the mishpatim, which are between our neighbor and ourselves. So we continue. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, here he's telling them, take up arms, avenge the children of Israel because of the Midianites. After you shall be gathered to your people. So God is telling Moses that he's going to be gathered to his people. This is, for me, proof solid that there's life after death. Here he's going to die, but he's going to go to be with the people who passed before him, our forefathers. This body goes to the ground, dust to dust, and the soul which is in us is eternal. It belongs to God, and it will go back to be with God. And Moses spoke to the people, saying, arm men from among you for war, to go against Midian, to execute the Lord's vengeance on Midian. Now this is really important because we see a lot of shows, a lot of programs today where people love when we take vengeance out on each other, when the bad guy loses and the good guys win. But our God says, vengeance is mine. We are not to take revenge on people, and he will let us know when and how we are to take revenge. Of every tribe 1,000, and here it's going to go through all the thousands of men who are armed for war. 12,000 men who would be armed for war, which when you think about it was not a lot compared to the amount of the Midianites and the amount of our enemies. We in Israel have always been a very small army against a great enemy, which proves to me that our God has always been with us. And we have many stories of that in the Torah. And to continue on in the Tanakh, in the book of Joshua, in some of the Kings, where you see how God was always with us when we were obedient to him. And Moses sent them 1,000 from every tribe to war. They went, and Pinchas, the son of the Kohen, Eleazar the Kohen, went to war with the holy vessels and the trumpets. They would go before us, the trumpets letting the enemy know that the enemies of Israel were on the march. That Israel was on the march against their enemies. And they warred against Midian as the Lord commanded Moses, and they slew every male. They slew the kings of Midian with the rest of their slain, along with Bilam. Remember the Bilam the prophet? He was slain as well because he tried to curse Israel. And the children of Israel took captive the women of Midian and their little ones, their cattle, their flocks, all their goods they took for a prey, for booty. And all their cities they burnt with fire. They took all the spoil, all the prey, both of man and beast, and they brought the captives and the prey and the spoil to Moses and to Eleazar the Kohen and to the congregation of the children of Israel while they were in the plains of Moab, which are by the Jordan at Jericho. So we see that the soldiers didn't keep things for themselves. They brought it to Moses, to the Kohen, and to the rest of the community. Moses and Eleazar the Kohen and all the princes went to meet them outside the camp. And Moses was angry with the officers of the host, the captains of thousands and captains of hundreds who came from the war. And Moses said to them, "Why have you saved all the women? These caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Bilam to revolt, to break faith with the Lord in the matter of Peor. So the plague hit the congregation." Remember, he told the king Balak that the only way to defeat Israel was to get the women and to seduce the men of Israel and bring them into idolatry. And that's when a plague broke out, and many in Israel were killed. So now he says, kill every male among the little ones. Kill every woman that has known man by lying with him. This is important in the scriptures. Whenever you see a woman who has known a man, the word yodea, it has a very intimate meaning. This way we know that these women were not virgins. So he's telling them to kill every woman who has been with another man. They are the ones who led our people astray. But all the women, children who have not known man by lying with him, keep them alive. You see, in the Torah, the generations come through the male, not the women, through the male. So the older women who could lead the men astray would be killed, but the young girls who would then marry Israelite men and who would be then under their supervision, they could be kept alive because they would not lead them away from our God. Camp outside the camp for 7 days. Whoever's killed a person, whoever's touched anything slain, because when they kill somebody, they become unclean. So it's to purify yourselves to the 3rd and the 7th day, you and your captives, and to every garment, everything had to be clean. This is the statute, again, chukat. This is the statute of the law which the Lord has commanded Moses. The fact that they went to battle. Albeit the gold, the silver, the brass, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that can stand going through the fire, it shall be clean. Nevertheless, it shall be purified with the water of sprinkling, all that does not abide the fire. Wash your clothes till the 7th day. Then God said to Moses, take a census, a sum of the prey that was taken. Count everything, man and beast, you, Eleazar the priest, the heads of the fathers of the house of the congregation, divide the booty, the prey, into two parts. Between the men who went to war, who were skilled in war, who went to battle, and the congregation. So look how just our God is. These men went out to war, and they're going to be able to divide the booty with the rest of the congregation. And they were to Levi a tribute to the Lord. We always had to give back to God. Whatever we get, we always have to say, everything is mine, but a tenth goes to God. Here, one soul of 500.
Peggy, sorry.
What?
When, just to clarify, when you say goes to God, I mean, God doesn't need anything. So it goes to keep his,
Yes, it's in honor of what he has done for us. We bring it to the Kohanim, and we help to build the Mishkan. All
right,
those.
that's what I mean. It's
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Miriam, for clarifying that. And here there's going to be a little bit of a difference of who? One soul of 500, both of the persons, of the, I don't know what beeves are, and of the asses and the flocks. I have it in my other translation. Take it of their half and give it to Eleazar the priest as a portion set apart from the war for the Lord. And of the children of Israel's half you shall take 1 out of every 50. So here you're going to get 1 out of every 500 to give as a levy to the men of war, and 1 out of 50 are going to go to the Levites. Moses and Eleazar the Kohen did as the Lord commanded Moses, and here it's going to go through how many of each were given. We don't have to read all of that because it'll make it too long.
Just to think that, because this used to horrify me many years ago when I would read snippets of these things, how casually it looks like men's lives are just, discussed like booty, and slaves are discussed.
Right.
I keep bringing this up, but it's so important, or else it doesn't make sense. This is in the context.
Yes.
I mean, if we to see that now and just hear on the news and just hear it casually, kill all the women and children, kill the cattle, we would be aghast. So it has to be seen in a context, or else a lot of people say, how could I follow a God that's just bloodthirsty?
Exactly.
But he's forming a nation, and it's not that he's happy for blood. God's not happy for blood. Like we have to see it in context, because what happened when the other nations conquered, it was even more horrifying.
Yes, they had absolutely no mercy.
No.
Our army is an army of mercy, but God, what we do is we say that we are more humane than God, whereas we don't always know the reason why. It's a little bit like when God told Samuel, was it Samuel? To have King Saul, or Nathan, told King Saul, he was our first king, to go and kill all the Amalekites, the men, the women, the children, even the animals, to kill them all. But Saul didn't do that. He did the same thing as what happened here. He kept the king alive. He kept the best of the women, the best of the animals, and when I think when the Kohen saw, oh my goodness, I think, is it Samuel or Nathan? Miriam, do you remember? Anyway, that's less important. When they saw, when King Saul didn't do that, he brought King Agag, and the prophet took a spear and went and killed the king. But 500 years later, because these people were kept alive, we have a Haman Haman came out of the Amalekites, who was an Agagite, and he tried to destroy all of Israel.
Yes, see, we don't know those consequences. So when we see something like this, had they not been ordered to kill the man and whatever, who knows what would have come out of these Gentiles?
Well, it does tell us here. It tells us You're going to see a little bit later what happens. Now we're coming to the next chapter, chapter 32. The children of Reuben, the children of Gad, had a very great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Yazer and the land of Gilead, and that behold, the place was a place for cattle. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke to Moses and to Eleazar the Cohen and to the princes of the congregation, saying, at Torah, all these places, the land which the Lord smote before the congregation is a land for cattle, and your servants have cattle. If we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants for possession. Do not bring us over the Jordan. Here, God has us right at the entrance of the promised land, and these tribes, Reuben and Gad, and later we'll see it's half of Manasseh, said, we don't want to go over. We want to stay here. The land is perfect here for our cattle. So they're putting their own desires before that of what the Lord wanted for them. And Moses said to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, should your brothers go to war while we sit here? While you sit here? And why do you turn your heart away from the children of Israel, from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? That's your fathers did that when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. Remember the one about the scouts? They didn't want to go in. When they went up to the valley of Eshcol, that's where they got the grapes. And they saw the land, and they turned away the heart of the children of Israel, that they should not go into the land that the Lord had given them. And the Lord's anger was kindled in that day, and he swore, saying, surely none of the men that came up out of Egypt from 20 years and up shall see the land which I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me, except for Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite. This Caleb was not a natural-born Israelite. He was a Kenizzite, a proselyte. He came in and he became a beloved of God because he was willing to follow the God of Israel no matter what. And you see that even today. And Joshua was the son of Nun. He was from the tribe of Benjamin, because they have wholly followed the Lord. And the Lord's anger was kindled against Israel, and he made them wander back and forth in the wilderness for 40 years. There are consequences when we don't obey God. And that's not only then, it's still today. Until all the generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord was consumed. Behold, you rose up in your father's stead, a brood of sinful men, to augment the fierce anger of the Lord toward Israel. And if you turn away from him, he will yet again leave them in the wilderness. So you will destroy all this people.
Just one second.
Yes.
What I wanted to ask you before, what does it mean when there's a capital S after in brackets?
To tell you the truth, I think it's a pause until the next. I'm not sure. This is all added later. And later, when the original Torah has no divisions, it has no chapters, it has no numbers. This was all done later on when we had the Masoretic texts, and these things were added. I can find out, or I'm sure if we Google it, we can find out. It's usually an end of a thought. So they came near to him and said, we will build sheepfolds here for our cattle and city for our little ones. But we will be ready to arm them. What they're saying is they're going to go to war with the rest of Israel, but they're going to leave their little ones outside on the other side of the Jordan. They're not going to enter the promised land. We will not return to our houses until the children of Israel have inherited every man his inheritance, because what God was going to do was to divide up the land. He was going to show us every tribe, according to the amount of people they had, would be given a piece of the land. For we will not inherit with them on the other side of the Jordan, in other words, in Israel, and forward, because our inheritance is fallen to us on this side. So they're asking for their inheritance early. It's a little bit like kids. who say to their parents, "Give me my inheritance now. I can't wait for you to die." Moses said to them, "If you will do this thing, if you will arm yourself to go before the Lord to war, and every armed man will pass over the Jordan until he has driven out his enemies before him, and the land will be subdued before the Lord, and you return hereafter, then you shall be clear before the Lord, before Israel, and this land shall be unto you for a possession before the Lord. But if you do not do that, you have sinned against the Lord, and you know your sin will find you out." And what they didn't realize, they did that. They built these cities for their little ones. They stayed on this side of the Jordan. But years later, when the Assyrians came and attacked Israel, the first ones to be kicked out were the half tribe of Manasseh, or Gad and Reuben, because they were not inside the protective walls of Israel at that point. So Moses gave charge concerning them to Eleazar the priest, to Joshua the son of Nun, and to the heads of the fathers' houses of the tribe. And Moses said to them, "If the children of Gad and the children of Reuben will pass with you over the Jordan, every man who is armed to do battle before the Lord, the land shall be subdued before you. Then you shall give them the land of Gilead for a possession." See, one of the things we know about Reuben, the story to me was very similar to the story of Lot. When Abram and Lot were together, they were fighting. The shepherds were fighting because they both had huge amount of cattle, and there wasn't enough land for both sheep to graze. So Abraham told Lot, "Look around at all the land that you see, and choose where you want to go." And Lot saw the land around Sodom and Gomorrah, and they said, "That is the best. That's where I want to go." He wasn't looking to serve God. He wasn't looking to see where God would want him. He certainly didn't ask. He was going to go where as they say, his lust led him, which is exactly what Reuben did. And we also know with Reuben that Reuben slept with his father's concubine, Bilhah, which is how he lost the inheritance of the firstborn. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, "As the Lord has said to your servants, so we will do. We will pass over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, and the possessions of our inheritance shall remain with us." So here we see all the names Moses gave to them, even to the children of Gad, to the children of Reuben, to the half tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, all these kingdoms. And they built the variety of cities that we see written here, but we're not going to go through them all because I want to respect Iris's back. So now we come to the next chapter. These are the stages. Ele Masei, Bnei Israel. Ele Masei, which means the stages of their journey. And every single one of us have, if we sat down and we made what's called a map of our lives, we have certain points in our lives that we would say may be pivotal. Like, I can think of all the places that I moved to. I can't tell you how many times we moved, or changed schools, got married. When you have a bar mitzvah, there's so many stages when you have children. And the next verses are going to start to enumerate the stages that the children of Israel went through, to remind them, these are things that you did. And I'm warning you not to do these when you go into the land of Israel. So they journeyed from Ramses in the first month, on the 15th day of the month. Remember, the 14th day of the month was
Nisan,
Pesach. Exactly, it's Pesach. That's where they began. While the Egyptians were bearing their people, who the Lord had smitten, all their firstborn, because he executed his judgment upon the gods. so that we would know that there's only one God in Israel. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Sukkot, from Sukkot to Etan. All these names are places, and he's going to talk about in a couple of them a little bit more. Like Elim, there were 12 springs of water and 10 palms. And if we go back to the Torah, we can read exactly what happened in those places. We go from the Red Sea. It's actually Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds. We pitched in the wilderness of Sin. We journeyed from there to Dofka, from Dofka to Alush. All these places were part of their journeys. And each one had something that he was trying to tell the people of Israel. Be careful, don't do the same things that you did there. And here we get to the land of Kadesh. We were at Mount Hor again, because they went several times around Mount Sinai, in the edge of the land of Edom. And Aaron the Kohen went up into Mount Hor, or Mount Sinai, at the commandment of the Lord, and he died there. Imagine if you were told, Iris, the Lord said to you, Iris,
I'm here.
tomorrow you're going to go up to Mount Royal, and God, I'm going to take you from there. How would you feel? And he died there. And in the 40th year of the children of Israel, who came out of the land of Egypt in the 5th month, on the 1st day of the month. Aaron was 123. He lived older than his brother Moses, who was taken at 120 when he died in Mount Hor. And then it's going to talk about, and the Canaanite king of Arad, who dwelt in the south in the land of Canaan, heard about the coming of the children of Israel. And they journeyed. Now they're continuing their journey, all these journeys. This is why it's called Masei. And the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you pass over, now this is really, really, really important. When you pass over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their figures, all the stone carved images, destroy all their molten, the images that they made, and demolish all their high places, and you shall drive out the inhabitants of the land who dwell there. For I have given you the land to possess. We were to get rid of everybody in the land. God was giving it to us, but he didn't give it to us free. We had to work for it. Nothing is given to us free. We have to work. You shall inherit the land by lot, according to your families. To the more, you give more inheritance. To the fewer, you give less inheritance. Whatever the lot falls to the man shall be his, according to the tribes. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then shall those that you let remain, they shall be like thorns in your eyes, as pricks in your sides, and they shall harass you in the land where you live. And it shall come to pass that as I thought to do to them, so I will do to you. And we see that in Israel today. There are people living in Israel today who hate Israel. They're even serving in the government. They stand up and they rise up against Israel. You see them in the east part of Jerusalem, how they throw rocks at those who are standing at the wall. And God told us here, if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land, they will be like a thorn in your flesh. This is exactly what's happening. Okay, Jerry, are you still with us? You want to read some?
Okay, just continue.
Because it's a long passage. That's why I wanted to go through it all quickly. Because some of these,
good. Okay,
some of these we don't have to read everything.
Okay, good. So if I do read, and you want to skip some, just just skip me wherever you.
Actually, what I'd like to do, I'm sorry, Jared, let me just go through this quickly. And the reason that I want to go through it quickly is because it's going to now give us the size of the land of Israel. And I went, as I was reading this, I was trying to figure out the map in comparison to the map of Israel we have today. It says, command the children of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land of Canaan, this shall be the land that shall fall to you as inheritance, even the land of Canaan, according to the borders thereof. So all these here that we're going to be reading are what was earmarked to be the land of Israel. And I went and I found this map. So look at what we have today. We have a very small portion of the land today.
We don't see that. We don't see that map on a shared screen. It's very small.
Okay. Hang on.
I see.
Zoom in. View.
No, but you're on. You're not sharing your screen.
Iris, do you see the map?
I see number 2 here.
I see it.
Yeah, Jerry, I don't know why you don't see it. The rest see it. So we see here. Can you see this border?
I see it only in a quarter. Just a minute.
Okay.
Yes, I touched.
Okay, so here.
I got it. Yeah.
Okay, so here we're going from it says from the sources of the Nile, which is near Cairo. Here is what we have as Israel today. This little piece. Here we go. We have the Jordan. We go all the way over to Iraq. We have to Syria. These are the biblical boundaries of what God was going to give to us.
Yeah, so what happened?
Aha! That's why we need to read the Torah. Because of our disobedience, we lost what God was giving us. No, that's not what I want. Okay. So here it's reading about the borders. Can you see this? The border shall go to the Jordan, to the Dead Sea. And the Lord spoke, these are the names of the men that shall take possession of the land for you. Eleazar the Cohen, Joshua the son of Nun, take one prince of every tribe to take possession of the land. These are the names of the men of the tribe of Judah, Caleb the son of Jephunneh. Now, people today believe in a Messiah, and they believe that he's going to come from the tribe of Judah. And look who was one of the heads. Take one prince of every tribe. Caleb was so important to God, even though he wasn't a natural-born Israelite. He was a Gentile. Caleb became a prince of the tribe of Judah, which is a picture of the future where our people and all the rest of the world will be together as one people with one God. And here the tribe of children of Simeon, and it gives all the names of the princes of all the different tribes who will inherit the land. These are they whom the Lord commanded to divide the inheritance unto the children of Israel in the land of Canaan. Okay, and then he's going to create cities for us. Jerry, you want to go ahead and read?
Okay, are we still on Matot?
We're still on Masei. We're on Masei now. We're the last
We're on Masei now.
Yeah.
So this is the last one of the Cedars.
This is the second to last. Go ahead.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession cities to dwell in. And open land round about the city shall ye give unto the Levites. And the city shall they to dwell in, and their open land shall be for their cattle, and for their sustenance, and for all their beasts. And the open land about the cities, which ye shall give unto the Levites, shall be from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits.
Okay, here we don't need to measure, but the most important thing is the cities which you shall give to the Levites, they shall be What, Jerry?
6 cities of refuge. The 6 cities of refuge, which you shall give to the manslayer to flee, to a manslayer to flee thither, and beside them you shall give 40 and 2.
So we're going to have,
And
besides
this-
6 cities of refuge, there's going to be another 42 cities of refuge.
That must be where we have the concept now. You know, when a murderer or somebody runs into a church, he's saying he's pleading, he's taking refuge.
That's
That-
true. It's
that
not
concept-
only a murderer, it's people who are running away from people who want to murder them.
Exactly.
Yes.
But that must come from here.
Yes, that's probably, everything comes from here.
Well, but I mean specifically this.
Yeah,
passage.
but remember, Catholicism, Christianity came from the Torah. They took the Torah and then changed things.
Yeah.
But these, because it says, I'm going to skip a little bit over, Jerry, because these cities of refuge were important. And the reason they were important was, it says, you shall appoint cities of refuge for you, so that a murderer, the manslayer, who kills any person through error, by accident,
Wow.
can run there. The cities shall be unto you for refuge from the avenger, someone who wants to take vengeance, so that the manslayer, the killer, dies not until he stands before the congregation for judgment. As to the cities which you shall give, there shall be 6 cities of refuge. Okay, let me continue on, because this is important.
You shall give 3 cities also here, at 14. You shall give 3 cities beyond the Jordan, and 3 cities shall you give in the land of Canaan. They shall be cities of refuge. That's in addition to the 6 cities. I think there are altogether 13 later on.
Well, there's more, plus the 46 cities, or 42. For the children of Israel, and for the stranger, and for the settler among them. Our Torah was never meant just for the Jews. It was meant for those who wanted to live with us and follow our God. Shall these 6 cities be for refuge, that everyone who kills another person through error may flee there? But if he killed them with an instrument of iron so that he died, he's a murderer, and the murderer shall be put to death. See, today there's no more murderers. They're living in our prisons. They're taking from the resources of society, but also because we don't have a very just system. Because the Torah says, and in the witness of only one person, you cannot decide. There would have to be a system of justice where you know that the witnesses who witnessed a murder were really telling the truth. But the murderer shall be put to death. If he killed him with a stone in his hand, or with a gun, or with a knife, or with anything, the murderer shall be put to death. Today, if you say that, you're terrible. It's a crime to believe that. If he kills him with a weapon of wood, whatever, if he thrusts him out of hatred or hurls anything at him, lying in wait, this is all about premeditated murder. When it says in the Torah, in the 10 Commandments, you shall not kill, it has nothing to do with this. We shall not commit premeditated murder, is what God is saying. Okay? And the congregation shall judge between the one who was smitten and the avenger of blood according to these ordinances. And the congregation shall deliver the murderer or the person who killed out of the hand of the avenger of blood, because sometimes someone will want to go after him, and the congregation shall restore him to a city of refuge where he fled, and he shall live there until the death of the high priest, of the Kohen HaGadol, who was anointed with the holy oil. Okay, continue, Jer.
But if the manslayer shall at any time go beyond the border of his city of refuge, whither he fleeth, and the avenger of blood find him without the border of his city of refuge, and the avenger of blood slay the manslayer, there shall be no blood guiltiness for him, because he must remain in the city of refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the manslayer may return into the land of his possession.
So you see, if a person who killed anybody is inside the city of refuge, and he decides to leave and goes outside the border of the city of refuge, and someone wants to avenge the death of the person he killed, he won't be guilty, because the guy was supposed to stay inside the city. These things shall be for a statute, again, chukat, of judgment to you throughout all your generations in all your dwellings. These are still things that we should be keeping today if we all followed the Torah. But we don't follow the Torah, and we don't have cities in the world who follow the Torah. Whoever kills a person, the murderer shall be slain. At the mouth, it says, of 2 witnesses. But 1 witness shall not testify against any person. Moreover, you shall take no ransom for the life of a murderer, he who is guilty of death. He shall be put to death. You shall take no ransom for him who fled to the city of refuge, that he not come again to dwell in the land until the death of the priest. So you shall not pollute the land where you are, for blood pollutes the land, and no forgiveness can be made for the land, for the blood that is shed within it, but by the blood of him who sheds it. You shall not defile the land which you inhabit in the midst of which I dwell, for I, the Lord, I dwell in the midst of the children of Israel. If we truly understood that God is with us wherever we are, and he knows everything that we do, when we break his commandments, he's there, he sees it, and the land belongs to him, and we have no right to sell it or to pollute it, which is why we got kicked out of the land of Israel, which is why we are living even right now in the diaspora. And we're ending with the heads of the fathers of the houses of the family of Gilead came near, spoke before Moses, before the princes, the heads of the fathers, and they said, the Lord commanded my Lord to give the land for an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel. My Lord was commanded by God, the Lord of all, to give the inheritance of Zelophehad, our brothers, to his daughters. Now, Iris, last week we read a portion where this man, Zelophehad, had no sons. He only had daughters. And the daughters, when the inheritance of the land was being decided, they went to Moses and they said, hey, we're just daughters. Why can't we also inherit the land? And Moses went to God, and God said, they're right. So it's like they are the first ones. They stood up, and they stood up for what was right, and they received their inheritance. But here it's telling them, if they get married to any of the sons of other tribes of the children of Israel, then their inheritance will be taken away from the inheritance of their fathers, and will be added to the inheritance of the tribe that they belong to. So they had to stay within their own tribes, or else their land would be taken away. When the Yovel, the Jubilee, the Yovel of the children of Israel shall be, that's every 50 years, their inheritance will be added to the inheritance of the tribe where they shall belong. So their inheritance will be taken away from their fathers, from Zelophehad and his family.
Maybe you should say a little bit more about the Jubilee, if people don't.
Okay, let me finish here though. Moses commanded the children of Israel according to the word of the Lord, saying, the tribes of the son of Joseph speak right. This is the thing which the Lord has commanded concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, let them be married to whom they think best. Only into the family of the tribe of their fathers shall they be married. So they all married their cousins. At that point, we were still young enough in our in our formation that we needed to marry those within our families. Today, that's against the law to marry a cousin or a brother or a sister. So shall no inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe. Each of them had to keep their own section that they were given. For the children of Israel shall cleave every one to the inheritance of the tribe of his father. And every daughter that possesses an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be wife to one of the family of the tribe of her father, so that the children of Israel may possess every man the inheritance of his father. So shall no inheritance remove from one tribe to another, and the children of the tribe shall cleave. So each one, it's saying here, for Mala, these are the 5 daughters of Zelophehad. Mala, Tirzah, Hogla, Milcah, and Noah were married to their father's brothers' sons. They were married into the families of the sons of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of the family of their father.
Here's a Noah. Remember you asked me my friend's was named Noah?
Yeah.
Now here's a female Noah. Remember
Yeah.
you asked me? Now
Yeah.
here it is.
Yeah. These are the commandments, Hamish mitzvot, ve hamishpatim. These are the commandments and the ordinances which the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses to the children of Israel in the plain of Moab at Jericho. So that's basically, look at you, Iris. We had a miracle. You were so into it that you forgot all about your back.
No, I keep moving it. I keep moving it.
That's good, but I'm glad you
You know something I don't understand? They had cities,
Yes,
people lived, and they had other cities of refuge.
yes,
That's so 2 different kinds of cities.
yes. And the Kohen, there was a Kohen that lived in those cities, and they weren't allowed to leave. Whoever went into there until that Kohen died. It seemed to be a special. I'm sure it wasn't a huge city, but there were portions
You're
of
talking the refuge or
the cities of refuge. Yeah, you spoke a while back, Jerry, about the cities of refuge. Remember?
Yes, today or previously?
Previously, you had brought that up a while ago, and I don't remember the context, but I think maybe it was given to us before. I don't remember. But, we have such a merciful God, and he's showing us. If someone kills somebody by accident, someone kills somebody in your family, it was an accident, but somebody else is so angry with them, they want to go after them and they want to kill them. There's a place that they can go and they can be protected because they didn't do it on purpose. But the one who murders on purpose needs to die, period. No questions asked. And Miriam, do you want to say something? You mentioned the year of Jubilee. I don't know.
Yeah, just what the passage it said, everything returns back to its original owners. You want maybe just explain that what we just read, like in the 50 years, the year of Jubilee. Do you remember we just
I do. I wasn't prepared for doing that right now. So if you want to say what you think you remember.
I'm not sure I fully, what I remember is just I guess to show us that the land is not really for sale. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to God. But every year, every 50th year, the land returned. Like let's say you bought, I guess like Michael Hirsch's, he's bought these apartments. I guess it would return them to the original people. I don't know. I'm not sure what it means practically.
Practically is that the land belongs to God and no one has a right to give any part of it away.
No, but I'm
someone who would go into bankruptcy may end up selling their property and make themselves almost like a slave. And in the year of Yovel, the Jubilee, that property would go back to them. It was a very merciful system. We serve a merciful God.
Oh, so you mean if you sold it, because you're, let's say your mother got sick and you had no money to pay for hospital bills, whatever.
For whatever reasons, exactly.
Okay.
It usually wasn't done willingly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember, yes, Iris.
I want to know, was there anyone who oversaw all this?
Yes, we had, remember at the beginning, it was just Moses overseeing everything. And then his father-in-law, the Midianite priest, what was his name?
Jethro.
Yitro came to him and said, Moses, what are you doing? You're driving yourself crazy and you're making all the people wait hours and hours and hours in line. Choose men, judges. Choose men. Some will judge over 10, some over 100, some over 1,000. And the things that cannot be decided, bring them to me, to Moses, and I will go directly to God to get the response. Because most things can be decided. It's like if you go to the local court and then something that can't be decided, you take it to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
But yes, we had judges. As a matter of fact, even Deborah, we had female judges. Deborah was a judge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Women had more rights. People say, no, women had no rights in the scriptures. It's not true. Women were highly revered. And he was taking us out of the pagan rituals that put women down and giving them and putting them in a place of equality with the men. Not that our roles are the same. It's different from equality. Our roles are different. There were no female priestesses, which is why I don't believe in a female rabbi. The men were to be the spiritual head. The men are the spiritual head of the home. It's up to the men to read the Torah to the children, to teach that in the homes. We've lost that. That's why we're so lost today. There's so much intermarriage and so many people today who are leaving Judaism because we literally have lost our way. We don't know who we are.
Intermarriage, not necessarily, from what I understand you're saying. To me, intermarriage is not the problem. It's when you've lost your, like if you have a couple, they both love the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's not, one is black, one is white. I don't consider that intermarriage. They have the same God and they have the same. So it's not intermarriage that's broken us up. We've lost our love of God.
Exactly, because when we look at the story of Ruth, do you remember the story, Jerry, Iris? The story of the book of Ruth?
I can't think right now.
Okay, well, Ruth was a Moabite. And the Moabites, although they were our relatives, they were our enemy. And we were told not to marry a Moabite. As a matter of fact, we were told, don't go into Moab. We usually read this book at the time of Shavuot. We read the book of Ruth. And they were told, do not go to Moab. But there was a famine in Israel. And Naomi and Elimelech decided to go to Moab. They had 2 sons. Their 2 sons married 2 Moabites. One was Ruth and one was Orpah. Now, Elimelech died in Moab. The 2 sons died. And Naomi said, my girls, I'm too old. I don't have any more sons. And even if I were to have another son today, you couldn't wait to have them as another husband. So go back to your families. Go back to your gods. Orpah did. She kissed them. She left. She went home. But Ruth said, and I remember we had to learn this in school, entreat me not to leave thee, nor to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go. Where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, thy God my God. And Naomi brought Ruth back home to Israel. And Naomi found favor with Boaz, with God, first of all, for what she had done. Boaz was called a kinsman redeemer who ended up marrying her. And Ruth became the great-great-grandmother of King David.
Oh, boy.
So it's not a, yeah, we have a lot of Gentiles in our family. But the difference is the heart of the person. If a Gentile marries a Jew for the wrong reasons, not because they care about the God of Israel, but because, oh, Jews take care of their women, they're all rich, and I won't have to worry anymore. That's not a reason for marrying into Judaism. Or there are people who say, oh, I want to become a Jew. This way, I'll go to synagogue and the Jews take care of each other. They're going to share their wealth with me. They're going to educate me. They're going to take good care of me. That's not a reason. The reason is they want to follow our God. The problem is today, most Jews don't even want to follow our God. My father used to say, you know what? We've suffered enough. Choose someone else for a change. I'm sure you've heard of that, Iris. Yeah. But we need to come back to our God. And the only way that we as a people do is when we have an outside enemy. When Israel is in peace, they're killing each other. They're fighting amongst the tribes, amongst the families. When we have an outside enemy, everybody joins in. But the thing is, what is it going to get for us to return to the God of Israel, to serve him in the way he wants? Not a religion, but to serve his 10 commandments, to be obedient to him. And that's the story, morning glory of Matot, Masei, the journeys. It's really very beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do you have any questions, any more questions, any feedback?
I want to ask you a question. Do you think we could start at 8 o'clock instead of 8:30?
We can. I've asked Jerry that, and Jerry is being a good judge. He won't give me a definite answer. And the reason, I don't know, sometimes he's on other programs, but we'll have to take, I'm ready to start at 8. I think, Miriam, you are.
Yes.
So, Jerry, are you willing to start at 8?
I'm willing to go along with the majority.
Okay. So I will let Terry know.
Okay, I'm going to see her tomorrow.
Okay, we'll try that. We can start at 8. We used to be actually at 8 o'clock, and the reason that I made it later, as a matter of fact, it used to be at 9 o'clock,
Oh,
was because we had people coming in when my rabbi was still alive, may God rest his soul.
okay.
He would do this, and we had people coming from Alberta and Vancouver who are 2-3 hours earlier. So it was way too early for them. So that's why we started this late.
Can I pass this on to my sister?
Of course.
She lives in Maryland.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
You mean
Just Torah studies and everything.
for her to join with us, to join in? Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have the original email with the Zoom link? Because I can send it to you again if you want.
Okay, send it to me again and I'll send it on to her.
Yeah, and I'll send you the recording so you
All
can send it to her and see if it's something she'd be interested in.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, I'm going inside.
Okay.
Thank you.
Iris, I'm so happy that you're here. And you know what? We have a prayer list. We pray for people every week on actually, there's people who pray every day. I pray for a refuah shalema for your back, that God would bring you a healing and for sure relief from this pain. And so it was good to see. Jerry, do you have anything else before we go?
No, not right at the moment. Not right at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, Miriam, nice to see you.
Just a question, just quickly. Did you send me a bunch of, suddenly something appeared on my gallery of photos, animals that love their owners or something like that?
Yeah, can we talk about that? I'll call you right after.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So I wish you all a good night. Sleep well, sweet dreams. And Jerry, we have a new tradition. You're going to give us the Aaronic benediction, the Yivarechecha, please.
When?
Now. Before we close, Yivarechecha.
Man, we're waiting.
Yeah. Okay. You have that last sentence. You should put that in later. Besamu, you know that one?
Yes, I don't have it, but because we never do it. But yes, please do it.
All right. So I'll say it, but you could. I'll say it in English, I think, if I remember it. Hey, so shall ye put my name unto the children of Israel, and I shall bless them, meaning the Kohanim.
Yes, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord be merciful to you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and give you his shalom.
Thank
Amen
you.
ve amen. Good night.